Good evening. The Toronto Raptors lose to the Denver Nuggets 113 to 104. And it follows the game follows the exact same storyline that we've seen all year with the slow starts and the comebacks, which the broadcast kind of always treats as this weird, like, spiritual, untangible phenomenon that, like, can't be explained. But I was really thinking about it tonight, and it was really clear to me tonight that it's not the only reason, but a huge reason that I think more people need to be talking about is just how bad Jakob Poeltl has been. I was looking through some of the stats yesterday, and I kind of want to go into, like, actually bringing up Basketball Reference and looking at Precious and Poeltl and kind of comparing them. Because the numbers for Jakob are horrible. Like, just, it's and he's like he's an important part of the offense when he's in there. Like, he's one sec, just gonna fix this. He's getting a lot of the plays kind of run through him, and it just grinds everything to a halt. And it's one of the reasons why the team starts so slow. And this is what happened again in this game. I don't know if he didn't see the floor in the fourth quarter. I think he didn't see the floor in the second half. I think he had 19 minutes. Last game he had 15 minutes. And this just, just continues to look kind of like a disaster. So just some quick stats. I mean, Dennis was really poor in this game too. I put out a little Lord of the Rings meme on Twitter about, like, Wormtongue and Saruman with Dennis and Darko, because, I mean, again, it's like the Dennis and Jakob are such a, like, integral part to how the whole thing works, and it's so obvious that that's not, like, how it should be. I think everybody sees that. I think from the like, everybody's kind of commenting on that from the outside, and it continues to just be this thing that I just don't really get. I mean, Jakob has been so bad that has been the one thing that Darko has actually, like, budged on. It's been so obvious that he just does not have it this season. I don't know what he did in the offseason, or he's fifth highest in the NBA in turnover rate per 100 possessions. He's 17.9 turnovers per 100 possessions, fifth highest in the NBA. He also averages 12.3 assists per 100 possessions, which is 120th in the NBA. So if you're thinking of a player that's like a hub, the assist to turnover ratio is kind of important. If you're the guy, like, dishing stuff out, if you have the fifth worst turnover rate in the NBA and the 120th best assist rate in the NBA, it's really not ideal. And it feels like so many of these games as well, Precious will come in, have a horrible second quarter, which happened again tonight. He came out without a headband, which was really jarring. I don't know if that was related to the mic'd up segment, which, by the way, all the mic'd up segments are just like, let's go, good bat, yay, good bats. It's like, oh, that's great that we captured all that. I think there's potential with that, but it needs to be expanded out a little bit more, I think. But anyways, but he has these really bad second quarters, and it's almost like he's not in the flow of things, or he's just kind of being like an alien, and then it kind of hits him in the second half. And I don't know if that's just it. He kind of knows that he's going to get those minutes or those looks. I don't know what it is, but he seems to kind of get more into the game in the second half. And in the third quarter, like, he kind of went nuts. Like, I don't want to say he took over the game, but he kind of did a lot of the stuff that you would hope. And again, this is not to say Precious is, like, an amazing center. This is more of a condemnation on the current roster and specifically the center position. And if Jakob is not going to be playing in the second half of games, what is he doing on this team? What is the point? Like, is he going to be another vet? You know, in the vet episode, they had Thad was the vet for the centers, Garrett Temple was the vet for the guards, and then Otto was the wing vet. Are they going to have like 2 center vets? It's like, what is his purpose really? It just feels like something really stale or like prepackaged. It's almost like he has to do it, Darko. And Darko hasn't really made much of any adjustments this year so far. That's been one thing he's been really criticized on. But again, it's just been so obvious. Like, not only the numbers that are really bad for Jakob, but just watching the game, the eye test. Like, he just doesn't have it. Like, he's just not. It feels like he just like wakes up and then comes to the game. Like, they showed him yawning on the bench last game. Like, he just doesn't. It doesn't seem like he's like locked in or something. Like, he just doesn't impact. Like, you don't feel the impact. I felt the impact against Detroit. He had a bunch of really good blocks in a good game. He's had a couple of good games, but out of the 27 games he's played, like, I just haven't felt him in 21 of them. So there's all these trade talks with the Raptors, obviously, and they're always kind of centered around OG and Pascal. But again, if you're not going to play the guy that you gave this contract to in the entire second half now, 2 games in a row, and in those, when it's, when he doesn't play, the team seems to do better, because they don't have this like Treebeard from Lord of the Rings type of like lumbering. It's not really how the modern NBA is going. It's not really going that direction. So I don't know what you do with that contract, but if you're talking about trades, like, I think you have to look at that. Even you're not going to get what you got. Probably you're not getting a first for him. And Jakob being a top 10 center in the NBA might be kind of Masai's peak kind of selling a bad product. He kind of is like Sauron in a way. I was thinking about this, Masai. Like, he brought the ring. Like, he did bring the ring. He did create the one ring for Toronto, but it has corrupted him. And he's now evil. And Darko is Saruman, and Dennis is Wormtongue, and they have a plot to recapture the ring. But Scotty continues to be a combination of Frodo and Gandalf. Another game where it's like, I'm just watching this, I'm like, I really hope he likes living in Toronto, because how excited can you be about this if you're him? If you're a young player, you took this huge jump and nobody else did. nobody else even like took a step off, maybe Malachi a little bit, but like, I mean, who's he like working out with on the team that's like on his level? Like, if any credentialed media can tell me, it's man, yeah, I hope he likes that. He's got I know he's building his own condo on, what is it, King Street or something? Is that Queen? Is it Queen Street or King Street? Is it both of them or something? I hope he enjoys the city, because watching Dennis and Jakob dominate really the first half, but then Scotty only took his first shot with like 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. That's just like crazy to me. And all the numbers are out there that Dennis leads in possession time and touches, and it's really time to start a dialogue. I was looking at articles that Josh Lewenberg, he wrote an article saying that Dennis and Darko's connection will be very valuable for the Toronto Raptors. I don't know if it's been valuable, but it has been a connection. It's definitely been a connection. And I thought David Thorpe really nailed that interview. I've thought about that. Like he just came out and just basically hit. If you haven't watched that, David Thorpe on the Raptors show, he just kind of came out and hit the organization in the head with a baseball bat. And I don't think there was anything he was lying about. Just being honest, as an outsider with no official sources with the team. Jake Fisher. I don't write the headlines, as Jake Fisher said in a tweet once, which I love. I don't write the headlines. Don't get mad at me. I don't write the headlines. I just make up the trades. I don't write the headlines. My editor tells me subject, predicate, subject. Anyways, so some notes for this game. Sam Mitchell on the broadcast, love it. He's great in summer league when he's just like had a few drinks at like noon and he's on the mic and it's summer league and it's chill. Like he's a great listen. He's got a really good voice and he's just seems like a fun guy in like a good way where he's not like trying to be fun. I think he would be cool like on a broadcast, like on a Raptors broadcast. Like he would be a fun character to have on there. So I always enjoy his appearances. He's got the Garrett Temple type suits as well. Precious, no headband. I thought that was like really jarring as a headband user. It didn't look right, and that's when he played his worst. So I don't know if there was something with that. I thought it was maybe for the mic'd up thing, but then he had his headband on during some of the mic'd up sessions. So I don't know if that was just a coincidence. Malachi changed his shoes. We got that. I think he hit the threes after the new shoes. I could be wrong on that, but he hit a couple threes. Julian Strother had a couple really ugly shots, but a couple nice shots. I really liked him. I watched him at Gonzaga. But in terms of the Nuggets, like the thing I didn't understand either with Darko is not putting OG on Jokic. I think OG held Jokic to 8 points once. I mean, you put him on Giannis, you put him on Victor. Why are you not putting him on? I don't think Scotty did like a horrible job, but I don't, if something's worked that well, almost to like a meme level, I don't know why you go away from that. It's just, that was, OG has really just slid kind of off of a cliff the last week, I guess. Is it week, 2 weeks? He's just been, Joe Wolf on Twitter pointed out how his defense has really slid. And yeah, I against Atlanta, I made the Dennis video, but OG could have been in a bunch of those clips as well if I made longer videos. But yeah, his defense has really kind of fallen off. And tonight, I think against Jokic, like that would have been, and I think he had Jokic on a few possessions that I noticed and like did a good job against them. It's not something you would think. Like Kayla Gray kept talking about Jakob playing against Jokic. Wow, that's a new one. I was just like, really? That's what you think is going to happen or should happen? I don't know. This doesn't. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what they're going to do with Jakob, man. I mean, that is kind of like the weird. That's kind of honestly like probably the hardest situation they're in. Like out of all the players, like he's probably underperformed the most in terms of like contract and context. Like they really expected him to be like the hub. And again, if you didn't tune in at the beginning, he's fifth. He has the fifth highest turnover rate in the NBA, 17.9 per 100 possessions, and the 120th highest assist rate at 12.3 per 100 possessions. So if you're a hub and you're dishing stuff out, if you're one of the most prone turnover players in the NBA and about middle assist rate, that's not a good hub, especially when you're not offering any type of spacing outside of 2 feet from the basket. It's something that I want more of the bloggers to start writing articles about, write some articles that have like 77 out of 100 on Grammarly with 40 forward sentences that start with but. Shouts to the Toronto Star. About the whole, Jakob Poeltl situation, because it's kind of the team already has all of these like albatrosses kind of hanging off of its back, and now this is kind of like, I don't think people expected this at the beginning of the season, that this would even be a thing. it felt like one of the things that maybe was more consistent, but now I don't know. It's just another game where he doesn't. Let me check somebody in the chat tell me he didn't play in the fourth. I know that, but I don't think he played at all in the second half. So 2 games in a row now. And honestly, like, I would probably rather give those minutes to Koloko and see what he has, because for me, that's how bad it's been. It's been that bad. Visually, like enjoyment of watching, he's got to be not very high on the list of people I'm like tuning in for. And later on, I'll go into Basketball Reference and we'll look up the Jakob and Precious stats. But even just before going on, I glanced at them briefly, and Precious is beating Jakob in a lot of statistical categories. Assist rate, even. Precious has a higher assist rate than Jakob does. It's crazy. Jakob has a higher turnover rate than Precious does. It's crazy. And it's like, you know, when Precious gets a turnover, it's a video, and not that I'm not guilty, you know, I deal in this type of thing, but it's funny. Like, his stuff is just a bit funnier, whereas Jakob is just your typical 7-foot guy that can't catch a cold, just ball just sliding through hands, or he throws these really shitty, feeble little weak bounce passes, and the player gets it at their ankles. It's like, he just seems like weak, like physically not capable, he doesn't seem to have like an NBA level of fitness. Like, it's kind of, again, Masai saying top 10 was in my era of content creation, from what I've experienced, that's like Maury Povich, like that's that's a lie. Like, that's the biggest one. That's what's bringing you into the Maury commercial to establish the episode. That's in the trailer for sure. We saw Pascal hunting threes early on as well, which also happens early in games, and he missed a couple of those brutally. OG really falling off. I thought Pascal had a bit of a greasy hit on Watson, and they didn't look at it. I was like, it was a bit like he kind of hit him. I guess the ball was in the vicinity, but it's a little bit it was a little bit greasy, I thought. What did you guys think of the Pascal, whatever that was? But he played all right. Like, he was minus 17, which isn't amazing, but he had 18 points, 1 for 5 from 3, 7 for 16 from the field, 5 rebounds, 1 assist. Like, it's not really like moving. It's not really moving the needle. So not a great game, I guess a putrid game, but Dennis just really rough. 7 points, 3 for 8, 2 turnovers, minus 17, and just has the ball a lot. I wrote a couple times, Dennis dribbling. He does the he'll do the drive where it's like a half-ass drive, and then you do like a U-turn at the hoop, and then you come out the other side, almost like how you would. It's almost the same path as like an L cut, but you have the ball, and he's just like, what's it like? It's just so obvious that he's not attacking, and then he just dribbles it back out, and then passes it to somebody at the top, and now there's like 7 seconds left on the shot clock. It's like, great, that was great. Can you do anything outside of the pick and roll? God, it's tough. And the 3 ball continues to, who's below league average from 3. So teams just leave him wide open. Like tonight, a couple times, just like 27 feet. And this is the championship team. Like, this is a smart team. Just like, okay, buddy, you want to shoot that? Take that all day. And I think he did he make one? I think he made one. He only took 2 of them, 1 for 2. So, like, to his credit, he wasn't chucking tonight. He only took 8 shots. Didn't get to the free throw line. Like, he wasn't just bombing it, but he just has the ball a lot. And just not a ton happens because he's not a true point guard. So it takes him an extra 9 seconds to figure out what's happening on the floor than like a Kyle Lowry would. And again, this is what I talk about when I say all the skiers have gone home. So maybe we'll do a lap after. Well, there's a couple. There's one more left. There's another one. But yeah, so like he's not chucking, but as I've said before, like the Raptors haven't had a actual point guard since Kyle Lowry. And maybe Scotty is that, but they haven't let him be that either. So they've really given kind of the control stick to Fred, to Dennis, to run the offense. And both of them are just typically more, how you would call a combo guard, which it's just different. Like it's like you see how quickly, and Scotty's not even a point guard, but you see how quickly Scotty can, ironically, like Scotty is the 0.5 player, not Dennis, but Darko seems to, it just doesn't make sense to me. There's a really cringy post in the subreddit about Will Liu being too harsh on Darko, and in the Toronto Raptors subreddit, and it's like, I mean, he's like telling jokes and being funny. I mean, their top ranked episode is them talking about Smeagol, Deagle, the Gaffer, and Gary Oak, Lord of the Rings of Pokemon. But a lot of what he says and what people are, many people are saying, there's truth in that. And again, I keep going back to this, but it's just so funny that the one thing that's just so obvious, the one thing that even he is like, I have to change this, is getting Jakob out of the game and not putting him back in. Not even for there, because there's nothing you get from, like, there's no, like, you're not even putting him in hit, like, for a possession or two, in a specialty situation. Like it really feels like now once he comes out of the game, like that's kind of it. He's going to be yawning on the bench. And, I got to give Darko credit for that. Because it's so obvious that it's just not it. But yeah, it was weird. Like the bench, and I don't want to put this all on the starters, but it feels like in a lot of these games, this one really in particular, where the bench comes in, has a horrible second quarter. And I don't know, is it like the starters are just so bad that there's this like traumatic energy in the air or something that passes on, and then they have to go to half and like cleanse everything, and then the bench can actually come in and like it happens in a lot of games. And I mean, the bench had like 2 points in the first half. I think it was 18-5, the bench scoring in the first half. And then the Raptors bench ended up outscoring, and it's Gary, who was great in the second half, Precious great in the second half, Malachi, who was pretty great in the second half. Boucher brought energy, but I don't think he contributed as much to the 5 points. But yeah, Precious with 13, Malachi with 6, Gary with 12. Gary and Precious. If Gary and Precious are giving you 25 points, it's pretty good. And Precious was actually, so Precious and Boucher +8 +6, Jakob -12. And I feel like that's not like an anomaly. There's been a lot of games. Last game against who'd they play last game? The Hornets? All of these games just meld into each other. Yeah, the Hornets. Jakob was the only player on the team in a minus. He was a -12, and everybody else in the Raptors was a plus because he didn't play in the second half. And to prove this, like to prove kind of also prove this theory. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's pretty obvious. How many times have the Raptors like come out really strong and then lost the lead? It's always the other way around. In the 27 games, how many times has it been that they've gone out and gone ahead by 21 and the other team comes back? Maybe once or twice. I can't recall off the top of my head. Maybe once or twice out of 27 games. And then there's like 19 games that are like this where they're digging. It's, I put out on Twitter that I don't know how many total lineups the Raptors have put out, like 5-man combinations, but they give you the top 20 in terms of efficiency, like plus minus. And there's 8 of them that are a net positive. And Gary's in 6 of them. 6 out of 8 of them. Jakob and Dennis are in 2 of them combined. Like the combination of them is in 2 of them. 2 of the 8. And they play they had been playing a shitload. So it's the eye test and the numbers are telling you just have to give Scotty the ball more and let him do more things. Like it's just, it would be different if Dennis was still shooting like 40% from 3, 42%, whatever he was earlier, and you're riding a hot hand and stuff. Like I can understand that, but this is your average now regressed to the average Dennis Schroeder, who on a lot of teams is running the bench unit, and he's your lead possession guy over the person that you say you're building around. It's, the clock is ticking. OG really not helping his trade value in these last few games. If he's I guess he's always in conversation, but yeah, he's really, I don't know what's up with him, just he had really unserious energy in the Charlotte game, and it's been a few games now where it's just he's not shooting enough. And now that the defense, like his percentages are good, but he's only taking 6.7 threes a game. He's not even in the top 30 in 3-point attempt rate on a team that is 30th in the NBA in 3-point. And he's like the one guy that can hit it, and he's not even in the top 30 in the league in attempts. Like it's just, and part of that is on him. Part of that is the Dennis Jakob, pick and roll that also, because I feel like OG is starting to get more bench run, but he seems to always be on with Dennis and Jakob. The German pick and roll. You got the Spain pick and roll, you got the German pick and roll. But yeah, I mean the Raptors kind of treat the German pick and roll like it is Murray and Jokic. But what are the good folks in the chat saying? Are people in the chat? What's the energy in the chat? OG3, Pascal standing in the corner until 3 minutes left in the game while we all watch Dennis dribble the ball out and miss open shots. Yeah, I don't think he took that many shots, which was kind of weird. I remember I looked through the fourth quarter. I think he only took a couple shots in the fourth quarter. He only took 8 shots in the whole game in 31 minutes. But he just had the ball so much and just wasn't doing anything with it. Like, again, it kind of takes him longer to read stuff because that's not his, like, he's not like a Rajon Rondo. On the court, not. You only want to be Rajon Rondo on the court, not off the court. But you know what I mean? Like, it's not the brain. Sav says, second time OG got run with the bench and it exposed him bad. He was a non-factor. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't seem to do that. He doesn't really, I don't know what the right context for him really, or the most effective, like outside of Scotty feeding him, he just doesn't really fit into what any, like, again, outside of Scotty hitting him in the corner open, I mean, I think he leads the NBA in the corner 3 position. And what's really sad is earlier in the year, there was a few games, I don't know if he got injured, but there was a few games where he was hitting above the break threes off the dribble. Like, it was shocking, but he was doing it, and they looked really good and smooth, and that's completely gone away. He's in the corner now, and a lot of the time is just barely involved in the game. He'll have a crazy dunk. He'll get a really nice dunk in this game. He'll get the highlights and stuff, but yeah, it's like I made the video about the Jimmy Butler thing where he didn't take a shot until Jimmy Butler accidentally tipped it to him, and then he got 8 points in a row. It's partially the system and the team, but it's also like, partially his responsibility as well. So it's yeah, he's kind of slid. Manny Grinds, Precious sucks, bro. This is more of a comment on the center rotation. Again, I'm not saying that Precious is like an amazing center, but is he more effective than Jakob? And if not, then like, why is Manny Grinds? Really good point. Bench was Justin Catherwood. Bench was legit solid in the second half. Yeah, it's weird. It's like they just played a completely different. They go through stretches where they just look like completely different different teams, different energy levels, and I think Scotty played really well in the third, and then in the fourth just didn't take a shot until like 2:30 into the fourth. So he was a big reason why. But I think the bench I think there was a lineup in the third quarter where he wasn't even on. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the bench was like doing well before even Scotty came back on. Like, it was Gary and Precious and Malachi doing really well, and Boucher, and then Scotty being brought back in and also contributing to that. So I mean, that's a positive, I guess. Like, I mean, it's the Nuggets. You're not expecting to win this game. I just was thinking back to Manny Grinds. Is that like a coffee thing?
And also contributing.
That it's just like this game had me questioning. Like, I wasn't like, oh my God, I'm shocked that the Raptors lost this game. It's just more questioning, like, what is the center rotation as it is on this team moving forward? Like, how do you construct it if you want to win games when the guy that you've designed to be the hub has the fifth highest turnover? I mean, rehashing stuff, but the fifth highest turnover rate, 120th highest assist rate. It's a really bad combination. And Precious, his, like, Jakob has a higher turnover rate than Precious. So, Mr. Coffee Man, do you have a follow-up comment, Mr. Coffee Man? I've had way too much coffee today. Vegan Grass, is Dennis handling the ball so much all Darko? Does front office have a say who plays on the court? I believe they do, but what is their reasoning? I mean, I don't, like, you're asking me that if the front office has a decision to make, or say. I'm sure they have like say in it, but it's probably the coach. Like, Jama did the whole segment about how they want to play a traditional motion offense, which is what I played in high school in 2004. Traditional motion offense, 1-5 pick and roll. 2 is like kind of at the elbow, 3 in the corner, 5 in the low post, 4 high screener, 1 facilitate and bring the ball up. It's not super innovative. It's not like, I mean, again, there's the argument that nothing is really that innovative. Like, everything kind of repeats itself. But I would argue that having Scotty as the one in that situation, and even having Jakob as if you want to say that he's been more effective, you have Jakob as the screener. That would at least make sense. Like, the point I'm trying to make is, what's the point of having a $20 million center on your roster if he's not playing in the second half? And I'm not disagreeing with the move either. So it's like, what are they gonna do, man? Did you see Schroeder running away from Murray? No, I didn't, but I will look for that on a second watch. Is that in context like the video I made today or put out today about him running away from Trey? Was it the same kind of thing, or was he actually like fleeing the scene? Justin Kalerwood said, I think the thing that shocks me the most is Darko's incredibly ignorant exploring different starting lineups because him and Dennis are so tight. Well, it's not only the starting lineups, but so if you go back to that, the Raptors have 8 5-man rotations that are in the positive. The starting rotation of Dennis, OG, Scotty, Pascal, Jakob, that starting lineup has had 300 before tonight, had 318 minutes and was a minus 2.7 on the season. So that's their 10th best lineup, plus minus. Number 10. Their top 3 lineups had not played more than 2 quarters together across the entire season. Those lineups are Precious, Scotty, Gary, Malachi, Boucher. I'm just doing it off the top of my head. The other one, but those guys are in most of the top lineups. Mr. Grinds. But I'll go to Basketball Reference later. Gertrude, man, did you see the Alvin Williams after show clip where he told the other dude to keep his name out his mouth? Yeah, I put that on Twitter, and it got like 24 billion views or something. Not actually, but I'll probably have to make a video. 148K views on that, if Twitter views are real. So I think I should make a breakdown video because, yeah, it was hilarious. Alvin looking like he was ready to like box Randy Urban, which, by the way, incredible name. There's so many jokes in this thing, like Randy Urban. That's just a great like kind of Monty Python type setup. The Alvin Williams post-game video is shocking. Thanks for sharing that, says TZ. Yeah, so I've actually been writing a script. So after that kind of got shared a bunch on Twitter, I was like, hey, maybe this would be a good... I was kind of already thinking about it because I was like, this is, off... I'm working on a video about Adam Silver right now with Will and Blake. Might get me banned from ever being mentioned on the show again, but, I prioritize content over relationships, so I don't really care. But yeah, it's like you got to start looking at some more off court things to make content about. Griffin Groff says the front office is trying to justify paying $20 million to Diaco, even though it was the worst signing in the offseason. I mean, there's definitely partially true. I think that if he's a minimum player, like a $6 million player or something, and he was underperforming to this level, then you would just, it would be a lot easier to just be like, all right, buddy, like, thanks. If he was like a Drew Eubanks or Alex Len, even, it's a little bit easier to just go, all right, like, by the way, what's Alex Len up to? That was one I thought they didn't give enough run to, kind of. Not that he's the answer, but I mean, this is where we're at. Like with center rotations, this has been a thing for a long time. This is it's kind of, yeah, it's just hit me. It's just kind of funny that like this is the thing the Raptors have been avoiding, centers and point guards, and now they got all this like wing, sauce in I don't know if you can call Scotty a wing, but just 6'9" guy sauce. But yeah, like so much of the offense is like predicated on the point guard center pick and roll, the 1-5 pick and roll, and the motion offense. Like that's not how you built your team at all. So it's just, I don't know what the conversations are like between front office and coaching. I can't imagine they're great right now. I would be very surprised if they were all like, hell yeah, this is awesome. I know Darko's like an eternal optimist, but I think a lot of that is front facing. He seems like a very professional. He does swear in open gym, but he seems like a very kind of, professional approach. He's not just going to come out and be like, yeah, this sucks or whatever. Which is kind of a bit old school, actually. It's kind of like, usually you kind of see coaches nowadays be a little bit more like, remember Will Hardy, the Jazz coach, kind of went viral for being like, yeah, that game tonight was a master class of in dog shit or something. You're not gonna hear that, I don't think. From Mr. Rajakovic, a little bit different approach, but I'm sure behind the scenes, 10-17 in a context where you've traded draft capital to see this thing, and as many people have pointed out, I think because of the heaviness of the Dennis Jakob thing, you haven't really seen it's just, I don't know. It just feels like they're wasting time. Like it seems obvious to a lot of people, which I don't know if we want to go down this road again about conspiracy theories about the front office and who's actually driving the car. But I think honestly, one thing I will say, which is not that this is like a good thing, I think it's a rare thing, but I think pretty much everybody in the media and content creators are like aligned on it. Like, I don't think there's a lot of divergence of like what needs to happen. Like, there aren't these two big camps fighting each other. I think maybe some people in that subreddit thread about Will and Darko, maybe not, but I think for the most part, people see that the front office is to blame. The coaching staff has been very underwhelming and just not adjusting outside of benching Jakob. And many of the players have just not taken any type of forward leap that even comes close to what Scotty has done. And at the same time, like, I still think you're not featuring him enough. Like, again, not taking a shot until 2:30 in the fourth quarter in a game that you're in is crazy. On a night when you had like 30 points, like, that's just inexcusable as a team. That's coaching, that's players. That part of it's not really front office, but there's a lot of things you can look at as being wrong with the team. Like, Messiah kind of gave Darko like $10 to go get lunch, and he went and got like ice cream sandwiches. Like, he didn't give him much, but you could have got some like samosas or something. Like, you could have gone and made some rice or whatever, but like, you're making ice cream sandwiches. It's I think they're below 400 now. Like, it's so what is their like percentage officially? They are 11-16. That can't be right. It can't be that good, are they? 11-16. I thought it was like 10-17. Anyways, the pizza party continues to be a dream, a far off distant dream that I hope Open Gym covers that. Go over the conspiracy theories. Who's driving the car? Sam Barefoot. So it's been really well documented that, Ed Rogers. I'm saying this is a conspiracy because it's super like, it's not even secondhand. It's just like somebody in a bedroom who's been watching professional sports since being a kid and kind of always watching organizations and stuff. It really seems to me that there's been a completely different philosophy and mindset in the way that the team is built, how trades happen, how everything happens post championship and before the championship. And in that exact same time period, you had Ed Rogers take a huge step forward in becoming the leader of the company and getting more power within MLSE. We saw him voting down the WNBA, and it, like, all the timelines line up where, and again, I'm not saying that he's necessarily the guy pulling the strings, and he did come out and say, like, he's not helping himself by coming out and saying that Masai is not earning his contract. So if you think that Masai isn't earning his contract and you've just been given all this new power in this company that is very powerful within the organization, if I'm Detective Columbo, like, it doesn't really, I don't think it's that far-fetched to kind of start to make those connections of, hey, maybe this guy's got his fucking hand in the soup a little bit. Larry Tannenbaum selling shares, another red flag. Like, there's shit here, man. Like, there is some shit here, in my opinion. And again, I'm not saying there's some puppet master, but maybe there's a, hey, maybe let's not make that trade, or hey, let's do this, or I feel like it's there. It's something to chew on. It's something to play with. Not coming out and writing an article about it, not making a video about it, but for me, it's in the ether. It's a possibility. It's not super rare in sports that you have ownership kind of be like, hey, especially you win a championship, it's this really hot team, put yourself in his position. You're born into this. Life's a fucking joke to you. You're like rich as shit. Not a day went by in your life where you had to ever question money or options or anything. Everything was just given to you. And now you're in this position of power. Who's to say that, that's what it looks like, honestly, to me. It looks like, because that when things are really stagnant like that, like when things can't move, you see it in big tech companies and big companies, like they get too bloated, too big. Like I used to work at a huge tech company. It's like you have this boss, that boss, this boss, and they're like, okay, where's version 27 of the graphic that has the blue triangle in the left right corner? Oh no, we want to go back. Oh no, this manager says go back to graphic number 16, for the website, and I'm building the website, and it's like, oh no, actually, do you have this? We have to go back into Git and redo the forking, and it's just like, it just becomes a mind fuck when there's just all these people kind of giving their opinion. It's like Larry David used to complain that his least favorite thing in the world, like the worst interaction you could ever have with Larry David, is to pitch him a show idea. Like, hey, this thing happened in my life. So that's just what it looks like, or you could go the complete opposite way and say that, Masai and Bobby, they got cocky after the championship. They thought they could reinvent the wheel. They went against the grain of the rest of the NBA. They looked at the 2018 Houston Rockets that were all 6'6", almost to a meme level, and said, hey, let's do that with 6'9". They almost beat the Warriors. We beat the Warriors, but the whole team got injured. So I don't know. There's a lot, but that's what happens when you have a front office that does, like, American podcasters have been talking about the Raptors quite a bit. And it's because of the what the fuck is going on. Like, it's just not normal. And it's not even like they're making bad deals. Well, they are making bad deals, but it's not like a tire fire. It's just been more of like these bad deals, but done so at a painfully slow pace. And it just doesn't feel like it's headed in any direction. And the tragic part of it is with Scotty, like, I think myself and a lot of people included, like, the direction doesn't seem that hard to realize or figure out. And I'm not saying that they don't see that, just I think the December 15th, things just opened up. I'm not saying that they're completely blind, but I think if they go another cycle of this, like, I don't know, man. It's giving me Vancouver Canucks vibes. I've talked about this comparison in the past, but it's giving me 2011 Vancouver Canucks, Game 7 against the Bruins. And they just held on to this like old aura and ruined enjoyment of hockey for several people in the province of British Columbia, myself included. They're good now, but it was hell for years. And a big reason for that is, you know, they lost their Kawhi Leonard, their Ryan Kessler. They kept players too long. They just held on to this image of, and even the Canucks didn't even win the championship, so it's way sadder. At least the Raptors won. You know, Sauron did make the one ring, so. Devin Smith says, I thought this game was a pretty game to watch. Scotty, Jokic are unreal to watch. Yeah, I mean, you know, that's my second favorite player and my sixth favorite player in the NBA to watch, so that's always a treat. Jokic kind of made that meme 3 with like 0.6 left on the shot clock. I thought that was just kind of the very quintessential Jokic type play. Also with the crazy behind the back pass. That was really sexy. Peyton Watson looks really good. I really like Julian Strawther. I put a tweet out saying that I hope I wish the Raptors would trade, make a trade to get them into the 20s so they could take Julian Strawther. But I'm biased. I watched a lot of him at Gonzaga. But you saw it tonight with the floaters. His floaters in college were just ripping. Really good pull-up three-point shooter. Not so great tonight. Yeah, and then Christian Brown. Their bench really has a good punch, and obviously the starting lineup is solid. So, I mean, yeah, like the bright spot is that the Raptors at least gave them somewhat of a competitive game. They are 19-10 now, I think, the Nuggets. So they've been kind of sluggish. Like Murray's been out. I thought he played really hard tonight. I don't think he filled up. He didn't fill up the stat sheet, but he had a couple really good blocks. Like he was tormenting Gary in the first half. He like stole it from Gary at half, dunked it, and then blocked him on a 3. You know, he had 20 points. It's pretty good, but 9 for 22. Like not very efficient, but actually that's very inefficient. And you know, Jokic 13 for 23. So, I mean, that's kind of the story of the game. Is those two are normally going to do a lot better than that. So, and then yeah, off the bench, they got nice punch off the bench. What did the Raptors do from 3 tonight? 9 for 27. So 33%. So, you know, Malachi hit 2 of those. Scotty was struggling from 3 tonight, 1 for 5. The starters tonight. Oh my God. The starters from 3 tonight. Pascal 1 for 5. OG 1 for 4. Scotty 1 for 5. Dennis 1 for 2. So the starters hit 4 threes tonight. Wow. And the bench hit 5. I mean, 9 threes in a game is kind of tough. Also want to give credit to the refs in this game. Nuggets had 7 free throws and the Raptors had 13 free throws. Amazing. Love it. I hate what did Giannis have 28 free throws or something? Like free throws have kind of gotten crazy to me. So I really want to give a shout out to the ref for, 20 total free throws in the whole game? 20 free throws in the whole game. I love it. Amazing. Jokic 2 for 3 from the free throw line. But then turnovers, the Raptors at 12. Okay, let's look at some of these Precious Achiuwa and Jakob Poeltl comparisons. So the top lineup for the Raptors in terms of plus minus, and this is a limited sample size, which is kind of a chicken and the egg problem. It's like people can be like, oh, it's a limited sample size, it's only 19 minutes, and it's like, well, that's kind of the problem. But Precious, Scotty, Boucher, Malachi, Gary are a plus 20. And it kind of makes sense. Like Precious's 3 is coming along a little bit too. I don't know what is he. So Precious's 3-point percentage on the year is now at 30. I thought it would be a little bit better than that. I feel like it has upticked a little bit. But he's beating Jakob in a lot of the, again, like talked about, turnover rate, assist rate. So Precious has 14.3 turnover rate and Jakob 17.9. Poeltl is beating him in block rate. I'm already bored reading these stats. 3.7, 1.9. Offensive rebounding. Precious is beating Jakob slightly on offensive rebounding rate. Precious is beating Jakob on total rebound rate. So like there's enough categories that when you're kind of evaluating the center position and where the team is at and what the team, needs from the players that it has, it's definitely starting to become a question of like who's the more effective player. And when Precious makes mistakes, it's just funny. Like it's just I mean, I guess for some people it's horrifying, but for me it's just like funny. It's like stuff you want to make content about because it's just visually like a funny thing to watch. But I think that can kind of distort things sometimes. And if you look at the numbers, like he's still in a lot of categories like more serviceable than the main center guy. So it's just, again, it's another situation on top of an already pretty packed situation. And again, in the top 8 lineups where the Raptors are a plus, Dennis and Jakob, the combination of those two are only in 2 of 8 of them. So Robert Reiger, Bulls have a better record than us. It's Jover. Is that true? Have the let's look at the standings really quickly. So I'm seeing the Raptors are still ahead of the Bulls, at least on the NBA one. It says Bulls are 11-17, Raptors 11-15. Oh, this hasn't accounted for today's game because it says Raptors 1-1. Come on, NBA. Fucking update your shit. The NBA. What are we doing? What are the standings here? I think this might be updated. Yes. No, it's not. I don't know. But yeah, the Raptors are right there with like the Bulls, the Hawks. The Nets have a couple games, but what's the play-in? 7, 8, 9, 10. So yeah, Raptors are one out of the play-in. I think if they were in the West, they would be out of the play-in. Yeah, they would be. So yeah, I don't know. What would even be Jakob's trade value? Like, you'd have to match salaries, obviously. So I think you would have to take on probably a team's like bad contract and try to get like. They keep thinking about Nick Richards from the Charlotte Hornets last game. Like, do you guys have a bad contract and you can give Nick Richards something? Because yeah, the bar again. I don't think they don't need a top 10 center. I don't think. I think you rebalance it around Scotty and guards that can fucking make a shot. I was surprised of Malachi's percentage, 3-point percentage. I mean, it'll go up a bit today, but did the broadcast say it was only 30? Let me check. I got the page open right now. It's only 33%. I thought it was up around 38. Doesn't sound like much, but it makes a big difference. Malachi, yeah, 33% from three. Malachi, 42% field goal percentage. Fuck me, that's not good. Is it that bad? Shooting 42% from the field, Malachi. The basketball reference page for the Toronto Raptors is like really depressing. I mean, they are 28th in 3-point percent. Wow, they're up to by 10th in 2-point percent, 25th in free throw percent, or no, 29th in free throw percent. Sorry. They are 5th in offensive rebounds, which is surprising. But 21st in points, 18th in overall field goal percent. So, but you got Dennis shooting 42.6% from the field, and Malachi shooting 42% from the field, and Gary shooting 39% from the field. How is that possible? Gary shooting 39% from the field this year. That's wow. Yeah, 42 on twos, 36 on three. Damn. Wow. Okay. I mean, these are the guards that Scotty's playing with. Gary Trent Jr., 39% from the field. Malachi Flynn, 42% from the field. Dennis Schroeder, 42% from the field. Grady Dick, 20% from the field. What was Fred last year? 39% from the field. Something like that. He's yet to play with, like, a guard that shoots over 40%, like 44% from the field. Like, it's tough. It's really tough. Hope he likes that condo, you know. Stevie says, take Evan Fournier in a pick. New York needs a center because of injuries. Evan Fournier, oh my God. Has it come to the... Wow. That's like, I don't know. That's, I guess. But, yeah, I mean... I think you're pretty desperate at this point. Giant of the North says, what do you think about a Flynn, Gary, OG? Whoa, skier, or no. What do you think about a Flynn, Gary, OG, Pascal, Scotty lineup? Imagine the spacing. Flynn, Gary, OG, Pascal, Scotty. Just looking at the lineups, if they've done that too much. Flynn. They've almost tried that with Boucher instead of somebody you said there. I think instead of Pascal. The good news, Dennis is the first on the team in total touches and time with the ball, so that's great. Sam Barefoot says, Dennis Schroeder's usage rate in the fourth quarter was 41%. LMAO. Is that from today's game or in total? Either way. How did you calculate that so quickly from that today's game? I've heard Blake Murphy talk about Dennis's usage. I think he said Dennis has like the highest usage rate in crunch time for players shooting under, I don't know, what is he shooting? 42% from the field. Something along those lines. So yeah, he how many It's a fucking difficult situation. It's a very difficult situation. Christopher, what the fuck? What are you, fucking stupid? It's a very difficult situation. A lot of fucking moving parts. Ooh, that was bad.
What are you, fucking stupid? What the fuck? Fucking Poeltl? Over fucking Chua? What the fuck?
Sorry about that. I haven't done that in a while. Sam Barefoot says S posted. I think it's from today. S reported 41% usage rate in the fourth quarter. Again, going back to the Saruman thing, like, yeah, it sucks. It's like something it's like something my high school coach would like draw up. Like, oh, we're gonna have the 1-5 pick and roll, and that's gonna be like, it just seems like pre-packaged. Like, it's not. How can you look at this team and think that like that's how it should be? Like, Dennis 41% usage rate in the fourth quarter. Dennis starting the game with possession after possession. They seem to always get one bucket quickly, like a one well-executed possession. And then the rest of the first half of the first quarter is like evaluation time. So yeah, Precious. And so another thing I noticed too. So third quarter, it actually started in the third quarter with Scotty, because on the broadcast they said he hadn't taken a shot since like 6 minutes of the third quarter, and I have it written down here. 5:15 of the third quarter, they're not involving Scotty, so he's taking out of rhythm isolation shots, and he'll like not get the ball for 3-4 possessions in a row, and then when he finally gets it, and it's like not even his fault, because everyone's asking him to be aggressive. So it's like what he should be doing. But more importantly, he should be getting the ball in the flow of the offense so we can operate, instead of like, okay, I have to now take this guy all the way from the perimeter and then beat the second line, or sometimes even the third line. And if I'm not, then I'm going to take a highly contested mid-range shot. And even if you're like a great player, that's not an ideal diet. That's like kind of, isolation basketball is not how he likes to play. It's not like, that's not his style of basketball, but you're forcing him to do that by not passing him the ball for like 4 possessions in a row. Like, it's getting to the point where it's stupid. Like, it's 27 games in. It's just stupid. I'm sorry people, but and it's kind of frightening. Honestly, it's only 27 games, and yes, the front office has not done a great job constructing the roster. Again, Messiah gave Darko $10 to go get lunch, and he came back with ice cream sandwiches. Like, it wasn't enough to do anything great with, probably, but at the same time, it's not producing. I think the team has more talent on it, especially like this team. Think about this. This is a great point. I just thought about this. This is a great point. People get your pens out, write this down, aggregate this. With Scotty's leap, just that alone, this team is better than it was last year. Just with that alone, the team is better than it was last year. And last year was a 500 team. This year, right around the 400 team. The East it's not like the East has gotten way better and these opponents have gotten way stronger. Nobody in the league is really, really dominating. There's a lot more meritocracy in the standings these days. And part of that is coaching. It just doesn't make the right adjustments. And Mr. Grinds, why is Jakob the only adjustment he's made? Because it's like, if you're not making that adjustment, like if you're not, it at least shows that he has the capacity to adjust. Like, guess that's kind of where we're at, because it's a new coach. Like, you're trying to, as a fan or a content creator of the team, you're trying to assess, like, how does this new coach operate? How does it? And yeah, it's early in the year, but you can see the tendencies. And even the broadcast tonight, like Matt is not even gonna chew on that one. But Jack put it out there, like, hey, maybe change the starting, maybe change the starting lineup, maybe experiment a little bit, try some stuff out when it's not working. But that's honestly, like, if you're doing this thing over and over again that's not working, and it's so obviously not working. I mean, that lineup together is a negative, and every game it's the same. It's Scotty plus bench exhuming the corpse of what Dennis and Jakob and that system built. And now it's like, okay, now we're going to get Scotty facilitating and it's going to go well. But then we got to bring Dennis back in, and then he's going to have a 41% usage rate, and Scotty's not going to get the ball again. That's coaching. And there's different ways to lose. Someone came in the chat last night and said, or last game and said, a win is a win. It's like, again, why am I even doing a post game show? There's different, you can lose in different ways. You can lose. I mean, San Antonio is a great example of this. They kind of went, I think, too far in the other direction, where it's like, I mean, that gives me PTSD as a Raptor watcher of this idea of San Antonio being like, we don't need a point guard. We're going to put Jeremy Sohan at the point guard, and it just like has not worked. But they're losing games in an experimentation. They're seeing what it is. The Raptors are not seeing the full potential of this team at all. And a big reason for that is the lack of experimentation from the head coach. Like, the head coach, I mean, they're involved heavily in who plays when, who plays with each other. And I don't really know how you can, like, defend that. Like, what's the argument that it's been overall good? Like, why are these lineups that are super efficient, like, their top lineups, the top most efficient lineups, plus 20, has played 19 minutes together. The second most efficient lineup, plus 19, has played 18 minutes together. The third most efficient lineup, plus 18 points, 16 minutes together. And again, the 10th most efficient lineup, number 10, minus 2.7, 319 minutes together. This just, like, they're playing as if they have this, like, they're playing like they have the Nuggets starting five, and they're just like, we're just going to roll that out. And it's so bizarre to me. I mean, I'm not in the locker room. I'm not at, Pi or whatever the fuck. I'm not even in the state of Ontario. Wow. Okay, we need to end this. It's the state of Ontario. The area of Ontario. I'm not even there. And even I can see it. So it's weird, because on one hand, he's like super vibey and like new school, but then in terms of the actual substance of it, it's just very like old school. Like, this is not how the new coaches in the NBA are rolling with their lineups at all. And not to say they're all the same, but outside of benching Jakob, like, he's not really riding as much as you would hope. There's even been games where Malachi's played really well and he gets taken out, plays 6 minutes in a game. It's kind of inconsistent. And yeah, I mean, the way that he impacts the game the most at the end of the day is the lineups. The players have their responsibilities, but he just hasn't played the lineups that win minutes, like, at the right times. So I don't know. Like, it's the numbers are the numbers. It's not. Doesn't seem that hard to But obviously there's some big plan. Dennis talks, Dennis from the Raptors talked about a system. There's a system they're trying to implement, and it's pretty unclear to me what, I mean, I get it. I get the type of offense that they're playing. But beyond that, I don't see why it makes sense. I don't see the purpose of it. I don't see why Scotty isn't leading the team in all of these possession categories. Like, yeah, I'm just an idiot watching the game, but it doesn't seem that difficult to figure out. And everybody, pretty much, everybody in the media, people are not like arguing about this, fighting about this. Like, everybody, it's like kumbaya holding hands of like, give him the key, give him the keys. Like, what are we doing? You could even say last year, like he's just taken such a leap from last year. Not saying that last year is like forgivable, that you kind of let this situation happen, but now it's at a point where it's just so obvious. Like, I can understand wanting to make your assessment. There's been lots of times where, teams go all in on a player and it's too early, or, it's too early and then it fucks up the team. And then, but now with, like, again, just with his leap alone, they're a better team than they were last year. But the numbers don't show that. And I think they could if the execution was different, if the lineups were different, if the mentality of who is who on the pecking order. It just doesn't just and it's like the reason why there's all of the, not, conspiracy theories or whatever, or me putting a Lord of the Rings things about Dennis and Darkos connection off the court, is because there's nothing else that makes sense. There's nothing else that you can look at and be like, yes, Dennis should have a 41% usage rate in the fourth quarter. Yes, Dennis should be getting all these minutes automatically. Like, what about his play on the floor has shown that? So you kind of do have to go to this whole, the Josh Lewenberg article about how strong their connection is. Because what are you seeing on the floor that's giving you the idea that he should be the primary guy over Scotty? I don't know. I have no answer. I have no even hypothetical answer. He's like Tibbs on MDMA. Dude, I was just thinking, actually, it's funny you mentioned that, Steve. Funny you mentioned that. Because I've been out of the game a little bit. Like, is MDA still hot? Is MDA still a thing? I used to do it quite a bit. But someone on Twitter wrote, I think it was it you? Do I remember people too clearly? It might have been you. It might have been somebody saying, how does Matt Devlin stay so enthusiastic? And today before the game, like, it kind of looked like he was thizzing out a bit. Like, it looked like he had been at the rave. And like, when you wake up at a music festival the next morning and it's like 7:30 a.m. and you're going to get your morning coffee or whatever, maybe have a pack of raw Mr. Noodles and smoke a little cigar, go get a coffee. And there's people like still from the night before, like, Shambhala at Fractal Forest is kind of legendary for that. That was kind of what Devlin was doing, like, before the game. Like, Jack was talking and he was just like, he was kind of spacing out. So maybe another conspiracy theory, maybe Devlin's flipping during the games. Cause yeah, Jack was like, hey, maybe we change the starting lineups a little bit. And Devlin's like, Raptors 5-point game. Vegan Grass says they're developing Scotty's ability to will a team back from being down double digits. I would love to know what he thinks about all of this. Like, because it's I don't know if it's worse. That's a good question, actually. Is it worse to keep losing the same way over and over again, or is it worse to have a myriad of different ways to lose? Because they lose these games the same way over and over again. And so many games, it is him just being like, all right, I'm literally going to like run over to Chris Boucher and like scream as loud as I can 2 feet away from his face and try to like inject and infuse my energy into the rest of the team and the people. Like, I understand he's like that normally. Like, you see it kind of in open gym and off camera. Like, I don't think he has to like go out of his way to do that. But at what point, like, does it kind of get a bit like, again, like we're doing this exact same thing again? The first half was like this again, and now in the 2 minutes into the third quarter, it's like it's just really repetitive. And I mean, obviously, I'm just saying that in whatever, like, he's obviously a professional, but I would love to know what he feels like about being in this position where a lot of times in these games, like, people will help, like he'll have a role, like people will step up. Like, I thought Gary and Precious really stepped up in the second half. Pascal will step up sometimes with him, but like, it really is him as like a first responder in a lot of these games. Like, he's just providing medical aid to like the rest of the team. And at what point do you just kind of like burn out, and I don't mean like physically but just like, as players who want to win. Yeah, but those are the dark those are the dark questions. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. What do we hit? Hour 22. Beautiful. I think that's it for my notes. Nuggets drafting. I want to talk about the Nuggets drafting. The Nuggets have drafted really well. Jack made the point of how they have drafted all these guys from like, the Gonzaga, UCLA, Kansas. I don't know if that really makes that much difference, but they seem to, kind of, for the most part, look pretty NBA ready, although Grady's from Kansas. Last time I checked, he had the 143rd best 3-point percentage in the G League. So, man, Jonte, when we talk about the Raptors 905, I've been tuning into some of the games. Jonte Porter looks really good. I watched him in his first game, and then I watched when they played Sioux Falls. I had no idea there was a G League team in South Dakota. Amazing. Does anyone know why the Miami G League team is in South Dakota? It's a little bit random, but okay. Because usually it's like the Maine Celtics, I think. So that makes sense. 905 obviously makes sense. Why is the South Dakota? What's this? What's the South Dakota Miami connection? Some kind of like drug highway gateway or whatever? Is that like an artery to deliver product or something? Like, what's going on with that? But yeah, Jonte Porter looks really good. Kevin O'Connor, Kevin O'Candyland, Kevin O'Cannabis, Kevin O'Banner. His threes, he's a big he's like 6'8". Three looks really good. So, I mean, if you're the Raptors, you're kind of scraping the, looking for potential pieces that can give you what, like Nuggets are a good example. And like none of those guys that they drafted are like high picks because the Nuggets have had, you know, a good record, haven't made any crazy draft trades or anything. So a lot of these guys are in the 20s. And when they picked Strawther, I was like, hey, that kind of validates my theory. You know, it's me being my Sam Vecini. No, I don't watch enough college to actually have takes. I think Brandon Pajemski is my 17th favorite player to watch in the NBA. But, yeah. I don't think you expected the Raptors to win this game. I don't think you can be sad that the Raptors lost this game, but it's how they lost, and it's more so that they've lost. It's how they've lost this way again and again and again and again. And how it seems, I'm going in circles, but how it seems like you could prevent at least some of it from different lineups. Hypothetically, just using my brain. I mean, and I'm not on an island on this, like, but I'm going in circles now. That's it. That's the show. So they're out. Your Toronto Raptors lose 113 to 104 to the Mile High 5280, baby. Mile High City. 5820 or 52? I think it's 5280. 5280 beat the 6. Is it still called the 6? The 6.